What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Fear of the Fro podcast. I am your host, Rahsaan Bahati. I appreciate you tuning in wherever you are, listening, viewing. If you may be exercising right now, or flying, or hanging out on the beach in Cancun, like I was just a few days ago, enjoying the sun. By the way, it was my first time at an all-inclusive resort in Mexico. I did it one time in Jamaica, and I did enjoy it. It was with Cycle Jamaica, Storm and her. Shout out to Storm and her organization. I did enjoy it, but I was tired of the food after about 2 days. I would have to say in Mexico, I didn't get tired of the food, but the food got tired of me because I got sick. That's right. The wife and I both got sick. About 4 days in, and it lasted for me for about almost a week, and happy to say I am feeling better. But regardless of that, I enjoyed it. I've told everyone I've talked to about my journey over the last couple weeks that the sickness was worth it. I don't want to get sick again, but it was worth it. I enjoyed every minute of being in Mexico. Next time I go, I'm taking my podcast equipment. There's so many characters there that you could talk to from all walks of life. We ended up laying next to a guy on the beach that was from like middle of nowhere in Canada, and end up, of course, was a cyclist. There you have it. He was surprised that I was a cyclist. I guess I don't really fit the norm as a cyclist, but yeah, we end up hitting it off, having a good conversation. So that was fun, but enough about that. Today's guest, I met this gentleman probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe a little more. And I met him through Sharon Smith, actually. He was doing some work for Sharon, or with Sharon, sponsoring, I would say, one of the first Masters teams that was kind of stacked. So there were some teams that were good, that were Masters, but Surf City kind of came out and kind of stacked the deck. And this company and this gentleman who founded the company, Birdworxs, was one of the sponsors. So, he was doing these custom graphics on like computers and bike computers and helmets and even some bikes. So that was pretty cool. We started a relationship because I started getting some work done. Really good guy, does great work. I would say now he is probably at the top of the totem pole when it comes to graphic design and overlaying things and stuff like that. But I don't want to steal his thunder, so I want to bring him in. Jason Curtis. What's up, my man?
What's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad you gave me a little nudge to sit down and talk. We've been talking about actually sitting down and getting together, not even just a podcast, but just talking life and perhaps potentially some business opportunities and stuff like that. And before we kick it off, I would like to say thank you. You have been a big supporter of the philanthropy side of what I do with the Bahati Foundation, always supplying decals and stickers and banners, and it's just really showing us a lot of love to make sure that our finished product it looks good, and having signage and stuff like that is a big deal. So thank you for that, and also welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, man, and you're welcome. I like to be able to at least be a source for people that I've met over the years, and try to do whatever we can to try to spice things up, make things look a little bit. Especially your stuff's always look great, but maybe just put a little bit more flair on it, just a little more source. But yeah, I appreciate that very much. And I know what's funny, I was listening to it's time goes by, and everybody says that, but it does go by so fast, because I remember that whole the Surf City and Mike Fiello kind of putting that whole thing together and riding around with those guys. Yeah, it's
so did you actually race with him? Did you race with him?
Yeah, I did for a little bit. Sharon, I was there to let Sharon slap me around a little bit.
Nothing's changed there.
Yeah, no, nothing's changed. Trying to get him up Heckler Hill a few times and handing him water, and just a few funny stories about that. But no, I think Surf City, it definitely it was a springboard for Birdworxs trying to do custom. I'd
Mm,
always been into custom, but yeah, we end up doing some stuff on the helmets, the old prevails and specialized stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And
yeah.
that's definitely where I knew who you were for sure. It wasn't hard to see you around, beating on everybody, and just, your name it's pretty solid.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I actually opened Facebook this morning, and I was searching uh, for a photo actually of my daughter whose birthday is coming up next week, and I wanted to find like one of those memory photos that Facebook does for you. And one of the first things I saw was an old picture, which I actually did post today, a Throwback Thursday photo. So if you check that out. Um, and it just like made me start going down memory lane. 2011, I still had a lot of residual from being a pro. I technically wasn't a pro in 2011. I had my team in 2010 that ended up falling apart. That's a whole nother podcast that will definitely be coming to you guys. But 2011, I ended up hooking up with some friends down in the South County of San Diego, called Pista Palace. Really boutique bike shop, high end stuff. You're talking 2011. He's already selling 12,000, 13, $14,000 bikes. Just like the
Wow.
Gucci bills, you know what I mean? Super record, campy on the time bikes, and that's exactly what we rode. And I was just thinking as I was looking at some photos, like all I had the pro residual for about 5 or 6 years, and you don't really realize that. So you look at guys like Justin, who's in his mid 30s now and could technically race a masters race. The 35 plus guys, if he chooses to race masters, will have to deal with him for at least 4 or 5 years, just unless he just completely falls off the bike and stop riding, right? So it's kind of funny that you hold on to a lot of that pain and suffering that you go through and all that hard training when you go to a lower class where you don't have to, train so hard and ride 25 hours a week, doing a 40, 50-minute crit. It'll come pretty easy to you. But yeah, I wanted to just dive into your background. I know just from talking to you over the years is motorsports. You did things on two wheels that were much faster than bicycles. So just take us back to that, and I want to lead into how you got to doing the graphics and stuff like that. So where did it start on two wheels for you?
Yeah, I guess, like anything, but even, you with the bicycling and cycling background, it starts when you're a kid, right? So, but it was only on the dirt when I was a kid because, we were riding ATCs growing up, and my family's, we have a background in the mining world, so we were at quarries and different things, and that led to having a lot of property. So we were always out on ATCs and bouncing around and doing that kind of thing. As that I got older, I was messing around with go karts and anything that was fast. I was always riding my bike around, but um, I kind of, I actually was always told, my brother and I were always told, you're not getting on the street. You're going to do that whole change your name, move out of state. You're not getting on a street bike. It's just too dangerous. So years went by. Next thing you know, my dad's buying a Harley. Um, so my brother and I thought, well, if dad's got a bike, we're going to get one. So next thing you know, we're on bikes, and kind of fast forward, I wanted to do a track day on a street bike, and went out and did that thing, and I was hooked. In the meantime of racing, starting to go do track days on a regular street bike, I was racing offshore boats, like the big, cigarette power boats.
Hmm.
And so I kind of I did that for some time. We found some success there and won the North American Championship, and then kind of got away from that, and got kind of I was doing some club racing, like you would local Eldo races and that kind of stuff before you're out traveling. And then I just started doing pretty well on the club side, earned my pro license. Families like, look, we're going to support you if you don't go on the street anymore.
Hmm.
So then, yeah, then I started traveling and trying to qualify for major races. Started doing that. Was on a Yamaha, and then we got a satellite deal with Honda, and started traveling around the United States full time racing super bikes, and ended up on Suzuki, and just, man, that was my life for a long time. And it just I was very blessed to be able to do that. It was a lot of fun and a bit dangerous. I'm still feeling it now that I'm just turned 50. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
But
I did my first track day about 4 years ago.
oh, you
I
said that. That's right.
Yeah, I went out to track days out, and I think I went to Button Willow. It was
Yeah, with track
around
days. Yeah,
yeah, it was around Thanksgiving. No track experience. I do know how to ride a bike though. My
yeah.
first thing I ever rode was a dirt bike. No jumps or anything, but just riding in the dirt. This was back in Birmingham, Alabama, where my folks are from, my mom. And so yeah, I always like thought I would be some sort of moto racer. And you probably heard this story before, but the cliff notes is how I even got into cycling. Is when I was introduced to bikes, I thought he was actually talking about dirt bikes, like motorcycle dirt bikes, not bicycles. And so I was like, oh man, all right, I've always wanted to race motorcycles, so this is my calling. But it
Yeah.
wasn't. I was actually the engine, which was kind of disappointing. I thought I was going to be racing motorcycles, but yeah, man, I would love to get back out there. It is fascinating that just you hearing your story. I came up with a new nickname for you. I'm gonna start calling you Surf and Turf. I didn't know anything about the boats, the cigarette boats. I mean, you're
Yeah.
racing like these boats are basically like drag strip boats, right? You're going as fast as you can go in a straight line, correct?
Well, that's kind of one aspect. Think about the boats that we were in that I did. It was like the like cigarette boats through the ocean. We had a capsule over us. We always had oxygen. We were racing through, like
Just
Florida.
two guys, right?
Two guys, ocean boats. Yep, as
Yeah,
fast as
yeah,
you can
yeah,
go. Yeah,
yeah.
my dad and I were doing that. So yeah, that's and I
I
was
mean,
doing the
those
go
boats are
karts and
huge. I've seen some of those
yeah,
boats. They're massive.
yeah, they're big boats. I mean, we had you have to crane them in the water. You can't put them on just bring them into the dock. And it's like a lake,
Yeah,
like you're
right.
going to just put them in. But no, they crane them in the water, and you have a full crew, and you got all your scuba certifications. So if you flip over, and yeah, they're fun. But I kind of leaned. I mean, that sport there is unbelievably expensive. But so
I
if you
can
don't have any
imagine.
sponsor stuff, it's crazy. So, but I gravitated towards the two wheel side, and yeah, and then in between that, I started racing a little bit of NAS truck. And between that, somebody called me out and said, "Hey, come out and do some, come out and do some NASCAR." And at the time, I'm making fun of NASCAR and just around friends, and I don't really want to turn left. And so they called me out one day during a test, and I went out and almost set pole my first race on that thing. And then they're like, "Man, would you want to come back?" So I
Wow.
came back and did some stuff, but motorcycles is where it's at. Is lucky, and man, we're gonna get you on the track. I'm not. You can't just say this stuff and then, and
No, I
especially
would love to.
Birmingham, because there's a Barber is in Leeds, Alabama, and that's a
Okay.
beautiful track.
I will. I
So
would. I
we're
would
getting you
love to.
there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've got some daddy duties I got to fulfill, but I always said if I eventually move out of California, I would buy a street bike. I would also buy, a cruiser, some sort of Harley of sort.
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
love two wheels, and it's not about trying to be a speed demon. It's just the freedom that it gives you. But with all that said, I think I would be remiss to not say I think cycling is the best way to see anything on two wheels. You know what I mean? Like you have to be hyper focused on a bicycle, but you can kind of let your guard down a little bit and take some of the sights in and enjoy the mountain descents and stuff like that. I've been on a street bike in Angeles Crest. I've been on a street bike
oh yeah,
on the freeway. You have to be 100% locked in. There's no, oh, look at that view as you go around a corner, at 60 miles an hour. So I think the best medium is actually the bicycle to enjoy, being out in the open, the wind, but also taking it in.
yeah. I agree, and I think that's a lot of the reason now. I mean, even then, but more so today. You're using cycling because I truly believe it's one of the hardest athletic sports that there is.
Definitely. Yeah.
And and when I started cycling, trying to use that to be able to, you know, trying to be able to stay in better shape um, on the street bike, we would do things and trying to go to the gym and try to do things, but not going to the gym is not always a good thing. Um, when it's just it can, your muscles getting bigger can also cause more restriction on your hand. And I've had arm pump surgery to kind of get rid of any arm pump that you might get, elective surgeries, and you do all that stuff. At the end of the day, it was the bicycle that it would keep you in shape. But I don't have to explain to anybody that's listening to this that the way that it's the mental health that you get from riding and the thoughts that going through your mind when you're just kind of cruising around at 80 watts, next thing you know, you're doing 400 and you're just thinking that you're not going to know how to do it. But when you finish, it's the most cleansing thing that I think that somebody can do. So cycling is, yes, great for fitness, but man, it's super good for your mind.
Yeah, when I ride, man, I often ride with headphones. I know that's frowned upon from a lot of people, but I do like listening to music. There are certain areas I turn it off when I need to be, hyper sensitive to my surroundings. But there's other times I do put both headphones in, and I like to enjoy those moments. And I tell you, man, some of the thoughts that come in my head, I feel like, I could end world hunger, and then I get home and I forget what I was thinking about. And it's so funny. You have all these imaginary thoughts that are so bold. At least I do when I'm riding. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't do this. But you're in the middle of a climb. You don't want to pull over and record it or write it down. So you're like, oh, I remember. I'm infamous for this. Oh, I remember. And then get home and can't remember half of the things I thought about on like a 2-hour, 3-hour ride. So yeah, I agree. Mental health is huge. And I say it all the time when I'm down and out. Like I didn't ride for 9 days, almost 10 days, just from travel and being sick. And the body just feels weird, And so I've been able to get on Zwift the last couple of days, and I feel alive. I just got off Zwift before I met you here. My energy's good, and I'm ready to go. So yeah, mental health and cycling, and I think just sports in general, it's good. That's why we've always not necessarily pushed our kids to be in sports, but encouraged them to be in some sort of social sporting activity,
Yeah, and you're making me feel bad because I leave California and I moved to Tennessee, and now I'm a an overweight 50-year-old that hasn't been on his bike enough at all. So it's so now now I'm gonna have to get back on the bike. So I have a street bike and I do some coaching and some teaching there sometimes, but I'm good for about 5 laps and then I'm gassed. So I need to get on the bike. Plus, you have these ups and downs, and especially with business and family, and you have all these things
absolutely,
where you have the ebbs and flows where you whether you're a little bit depressed or you're doubting yourself or what's the future look like, and how do you make sure you're the best dad that you can be, the best husband, and the best business person, and you have all that. You go on the bike or you get away to break away when everybody's sleeping or nobody's home, get on Zwift. You can get your mind straight pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's one of the things I think about too, is like wherever we end up, what is the cycling community going to be like? I mean, you lived here, and we lived 30, 40 miles separated, and you in your pocket had a cycling community. My pocket has a cycling community that's strong. You go down south, you go, South Bay. So it's like, I always think, all right, if it's Georgia, how good is the community? If it's Tennessee, how good is the community? Will I train? Will I ride by myself? If there's no community that's even there, or even a community that's welcoming. So that's always something in the back of my mind that I think about when I consider relocating, which, people who are closer to me understand. I've been talking about relocating since 2006 when I signed my first big contract with, which is now EF Education, but back then it was TIA CREF, and it's like, I got some real money. We should get out of here,
Yeah. We've talked about it with you.
I know.
About moving, and that's, and I never thought about what you just said. Is that when I moved? I mean, I'll tell you, just from moving, the SoCal cycling community is not only are they all monsters, everybody's so fit on all these crazy levels.
Yeah.
And then you come here, there's definitely seasons here where, we had, it's unusual for Nashville sometimes, a little negative degree weather, but you're training, you're out
Okay, let
trying
me go
or
ahead
on a
and
trainer.
scratch Tennessee off the list. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like you said,
yeah,
negative.
no, good. Yeah, cold, a little cold, but I tell you, man, when you're riding around out here, it is so hard not to stop because it is so green, and
Mm,
cows and you know turkeys and all. It's just kind of a totally different environment, and you're out in the middle of nowhere through Natchez Trace, which is a 2-lane road that does hardly traveled that goes 444 miles from here all the way to Mississippi, and it's just
wow.
you can. I mean, it's an unbelievable area, but it doesn't have that year-round type of cycling for sure. You have,
Right.
trainers. For me, trainers suck, and SoCal's, while it can get cold and windy, I am okay without the wind that's
It's
is in
howling right
SoCal.
now,
God,
actually. As we speak, it's
God,
like the wind is just like howling, big, big gusts, too.
yeah,
So we got some rain. So hopefully, we don't get any more like breakouts of wildfires. But yeah, it's actually
yes.
so
Oh
windy
God.
today.
Yeah, it's a different community, but I mean, like you said, you and the different people that are involved in cycling, and that's kind of why that for me it was kind of bringing different ideas to cycling because I wanted to see it grow. Or
Hmm.
everybody's, we put our kits on and you feel kind of like you feel like a superhero, and it really is a shift in your mindset the moment you put your a kit on and you
Yeah.
go out and you ride. It doesn't matter who you are as a person or what size person you are or any of those things mentally or physically. You get on the bike and you just feel like somebody different, and that's the great thing about cycling, and a lot of the reason why I started wanting to do custom, to be able to give people the opportunity to be able to tell their story through artwork or through graphics, and so it's just kind of springboarded from there, and cycling definitely gave me that. It's given and still does for sure that opportunity.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. So I'll set the stage for you. For me, I remember like it was yesterday. I was racing the Dana Point Grand Prix, probably somewhere around 2014, 15 ish,
Mm.
maybe even 2016. Probably within the last couple of years they had it. I was technically a pro at that time. Uh, I had won the Dana Point Grand Prix a couple times, been on the podium a couple times. One of my favorite races, right? One of the hardest races we had in SoCal. Um, and I remember going through the start finish area, and we were probably traveling 40 miles an hour, getting ready to go into a corner. And I remember kind of like peeking over and really not feeling confident. And it dawned on me that at that point, I didn't have the fearless attitude that I used to have when it was like win, crash, or get disqualified. I don't care what's going on. I'm putting it all on the line. I am not finishing fourth, fifth. That's not an option. I'm going. This is win or crash. And I remember that moment. I was like, I actually have fear, and you can't have fear and win crits. You could have fear
Yeah,
and participate in crits, and probably come top 20, top 10. But if you have fear, you're not going to win, right? Um, was there a moment for you when you were in motorsports that you had this epiphany that said, "All right, this may be it. I probably should pivot and start doing X." And was X the graphic design?
yeah. I mean, that's a great question and thought for sure. I think when I was racing, I was never, on a national level, I was never a champion. Boats, yeah, but on the motorcycle stuff, I was, and maybe you'll agree with this, but um, I had somebody tell me who was a multi-time champion. He said to me, I'm not the best rider out here. There's guys that have more talent with me than than he does. He's like, but I just do my homework better than they do. So he said you're going to have talent, and that is taken for granted by a lot of talented people, and then you have people that really put in the work. And what I mean by that, and how it, kind of aligns itself with me is that I wasn't the most talented. I did have a lack of fear with crashing and breaking bones and backs and necks. You have all these things and concussions, but yes, I did. I remember speaking with my dad on the phone, and we were in Mid Ohio racetrack, and I'm frustrated, and I've got a coach that's with me the whole time, and just I had a little hesitation, a doubt, like what am I doing here? And at that moment, it was okay. What's it going to look like from here? Because I didn't have. I'm going to hang it out in every single corner. I'm going to. I don't care how the bike's reacting. I kept kind of saying, well, we need to change all these little micro things. And my mechanics would always look at me and saying, hey, it's you. You were going faster when the bike was this XYZ. And I started to kind of let that fear and, you meet somebody that you start to care about, and you're like, oh, getting married and kids. But yes, I think there definitely was that whole thing. And I definitely feel, but with that said, I also feel like I may have those thoughts have made me feel a little bit guilty. Like, did I shut it down too soon?
Mm,
You know, I don't want to
yeah.
be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think there are those epiphanies that you have that are based around fear. And what is another fear? Is it just being realistic? I mean, I don't really, that's a, I hate using that word a lot of time, but for you, I mean, everybody knows who you are. They know that you're fearless. They know that, but maybe it was just a shift for you in crit races that you just got smarter. You're not so much
Wiser.
braver, but you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
got
yeah,
a little bit wiser. Like, hey,
yeah.
I'm going to hang it out with maybe 5 to go. I'm not going to hang it out and be up front with 40 minutes to go. I don't know
Yeah,
if that
it was
makes sense.
actually on top of that, we had three children by that time, all
Oh,
under
yeah.
the age of 10, right? And there was a lot of, like you touched on it earlier, there was a lot of thoughts of like, is this the right time? Um, you don't want to be forgotten. I never really thought about being forgotten. Um, but I always thought about, is it the right time? How long can you ride this wave? Um, you're you're 30. For me, I was 30, 31, 32, and I was still beating up on people that technically probably shouldn't been beaten up on, because they're racing full time, they don't have jobs. And you're like, all right, I could keep doing this till I'm 40. Well, here I am in my 40s now. It's no way. The body just
Yeah.
mentally and physically changes. um, so I think there was a lot of that on my mind. And the biggest thing that I remember as well, my oldest daughter, who is getting ready to graduate college now in a couple months, she was a standout track athlete, and I was missing her events because I was out
Yeah.
racing bikes all across the country, right? And so you would get the text or the call, oh yeah, Ayana just set a school record, or she just PR'd, or blah blah blah. And it's like, I remember thinking, man, my parents, as much as they could, they would be there for me. There were times where my mom was a kind of a nervous wreck. She couldn't really stand to watch me race for a long time. So my dad would travel by himself and just kind of stay in the background, let me know that he was there, stay in the background and watch the race. Where my mom couldn't really stand it because of the carnage that could happen, and she's seen
Yeah.
me in a bunch of it. So yeah, there was a few things for me going on. Is like, is it worth it? I'm not as fearless as I used to be, and I'm missing out on moments that I would never get back, which is watching your kids grow up and participate in sporting events. So all that came together, kind of fell on me all at one time, and I had a contract offer to continue to race for 2 more years, and I decided not to. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have any income coming in after that. Didn't have a huge
Was it
savings.
based on your feelings though? Like
It was
those
all, yeah, it
thoughts?
was all based on feelings, not performance. I was still rolling. I would hop in some races, on my own and beat the pros, by myself. And that's what gave these teams the idea that they should sign me. But I had made the decision that it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't. It
Yeah.
was worth for me to actually start being present at home.
Yeah, well, that's a hard balance because you still want to do what you love, and I don't think your family, and especially as your kids and getting older and they have their own lives that they're taking on, and they the times that you've missed, you're do they maybe get a little irritated when back then? Sure, will they remember that when they get older? They might, but it's something that you love to do and you still love to do, and you have a passion. It's something that any athlete really loves to do. But I'll tell you, you throw the mix of kids in there, and you know, it was the first. I didn't think I could love anybody more than myself until I had kids, and I'm like, wow, that changes. It changes everything, and it's real easy just to go, okay, well, I'm not going to a race anymore. I'm not. If it's not going to make financial sense because I'm responsible for this, but
Yeah.
how can I still stay involved?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's interesting. You say that, wondering what that moment was. And you're still racing now. You still can do special events and ram race, and you can do that. You have the foundation, and you have all these things. But is there ever a time where you feel? I mean, do you feel any? Put your head down at pillow at night and go, "Gosh, man, I still wish. I wish I would have signed that next contract."
Yeah, I had this conversation with one of my really close friends, Devin, the other day. We were hanging out and just talking, and we were talking about like I had some other friends with me that don't know Devin as well, and we were just talking about like me racing in Europe. A lot of people don't know I raced in Europe. I spent quite a few seasons on and off racing in Europe at every level, from a junior to under 23 to a pro, and done some big races that people watch today on TV, right? And we talk about like if if I stayed or if I did,
Mm.
uh, what everyone else was doing and made the sacrifices. He was convinced that I would have been one of the top sprinters in the world. Um, there are some concessions in me that feel that way as well because I did show a lot of potential at every level when I was there. The pro level was hard. I was just getting out of college and I was kind of thrown into the fire with 1 year of racing under my belt after college. But even then, I was still competitive. Um, and later, talking 2 years later, I just missed the podium on the opening stage of Tour Britain. Just missed the podium, the second stage
Mm.
of Tour Britain, and then from there I was kind of over it because I knew the course wasn't for me. But yeah, so we talk about it, and one thing I told him, and we kind of both looked at each other and nodded. I was like, for sure, if I stayed over there and had the success that others wanted for me, I wouldn't have my family. And so I wouldn't change that for anything because I didn't have back in 2001, 2002, when I was racing over there, I didn't have a family, right? And if I would have stayed and continued to blossom as a pro cyclist in Europe, 100%, I wouldn't have my three daughters. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't trade that for anything. So like my mom says, there's no mistakes in the universe, and so it wasn't meant for me to be the top
Yeah.
sprinter in the world. I do, like you said, do you lay back and think? Yeah, I mean, you watch the Tour de France, you watch these big races. Of course, I like.
Yeah.
I wish that was me at one point in my life, but it wasn't, and so you can't go back in time, and so you make the best of what you have now, and I think that's the lesson that I take from it is like over the last few years because I've been through so many ups and downs in life. It's like really trying to enjoy this moment that I'm in right now, even this conversation, enjoying what I have, not complaining, like, just really embracing the moment. So I've been focusing on myself to do that more and more. And I think I'm getting better and better at it. And it's a habit, right? It's something you have to practice. You're not just going to wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to enjoy every moment of everything I do. It doesn't work that way. It takes repetition and it
Yeah.
takes looking at yourself, looking at the things you have, if they're, physical possessions or not, and just being grateful. Like, yeah, you may not be able to, go get the GT3, that you really want, but you
Dang it,
have
I
a
do want
car.
one.
Yeah, I want one too, right? But you just be
Yeah.
grateful you're not walking. I tell my kids that all the time. You've never taken a public bus. You've never walked to school. Stop
Yeah.
complaining, be grateful. I had to walk to
Eh,
school. I had to take the bus. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but what you're saying too, I also, I mean, I always say it, and my wife probably hates it too, my kids, but your story is told by what you do.
absolutely.
And, what you're just saying too is that it's not saying that you couldn't go out and do something else and get those physical or material things or whatever. It's not like you're not trying to find reasons to not like something and say, and then blame it. Oh, I'm not liking that car, the GT3, because the tire pattern's weird or so. I don't know what it is, but you're just saying, no, like, this is the path that I went down. I have kids, I have a wife, and I truly believe wholeheartedly that things do happen for a reason. Could you have been the best sprinter? You you probably were. Maybe the world just didn't get to see it for a reason. And now, how do you mentor other kids so when they're watching the TV and wondering what they're going to do in the cycling community, or through your foundation and all these things? That's the job you have now. That's what we're trying to do, is saying, okay, how do we push to do that? Especially, the world's is a mess. We gotta, let's just get this stuff straight and figure it out. So your experiences and having those dreams and thoughts and desires that's where the value's at.
Yeah, experiences. That's what I'm looking to continue to create every day,
Me
right?
too.
It's just experiences. Just they're gonna be good, bad, indifferent. But just experiences are important, man. I travel a lot, right? And I go to places where I get to the airport and I start looking around like I'm lost, right? I'm
Yeah.
looking around like that because I realized I've been there before. And of course through bike racing. But now I'm either going for work or I'm going for leisure. And I go to Europe and I'm like, have I been here? And you start looking back, you're like, I actually raced here. And it's so crazy because back then I wasn't there to be a tourist. I wasn't there to walk around and take in the sights. I really
Yeah, your
wanted to
eyes weren't open.
perform. No, I was one track minded. I wanted to do the bike race, do the best I can, get a result, go home. Right. Um, I wasn't thinking about let me take it all in, and maybe that's a gift and a curse. And so I just, in hindsight, I do wish that I took a step back in those moments and take it all in, but still be locked in for the race. Maybe you can't do both. I don't know. At the time, I wasn't mature enough to look at it through both sides of the lens. I was kind of looking at it in one lens, and if you could say, I'm not going to say regret. I would just say I learned from that. Just wherever you are, just try to take it all in. Is
Yeah,
what
and
I'm trying to
act.
say.
And no, that's great advice too. I mean, it's something that I think all of us are guilty of, not taking it all in, and even when you're racing, whether it's bicycles or motorcycles or whatever it is. For me, I know I was more, and maybe that's why I'm doing Birdworxs, I guess, and even doing kind of a half-ass job at it. It's just because I like,
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my
it's the
stickers,
accolades.
man.
I know they ship today. They ship today. That's what everyone's going to hate me when they say, "Oh yeah, you shipped." Well, yours did ship today, but it's the accolades. It's like you getting your graphics and putting it on the bike, and you're like, it looks cool, and that's what is somebody's replacement for, whether it's whatever the accolades they are that you want, or you're elite, or maybe you were just still trying to find out what you're doing. But chasing just the accolades is definitely not always the best thing to do, and I know that from experience. And that's why creating graphics and trying to do it, and where I'm great with the design, I've got all the ideas, I just suck at the business side. Like, it's just so surrounding yourself with good people, no matter if you're training or traveling. You never traveled if you didn't have the right equipment or the right
Hmm.
crew or the right stuff. It just wasn't something you did. You set yourself up the best that you could, and the rest was up to you.
Well, I told you I'll be in Tennessee pretty soon, so I'll come and help you get the business straight. If I got to cut some vinyl for you, pack up some
Something,
shipments and get them out, I got your back. But I do want
man.
to ask you, how did you come up with the name Birdworks? What does it represent?
um, so I think a lot of guys that even Sharon was cycling with, is so I always had these little beanpole skinny legs that were just, it looked like the broomsticks. And so my parents would always call me Jaybird. They're like,
Mm,
man, look at those Jaybird legs. So it kept going on and on. They called me Bird. They always called me Jaybird. And then cycling, if you've ever had the pleasure of seeing me in a cycling kit and my unbelievable ripped legs. But they came up. So then we were talking about Birdworks racing. I was always, mechanics would always, call me Rocket Boy, and because I was always, you know, climbing up the racing the community pretty quickly, and so yeah, Jay Bird. And then I'm like, oh, everybody, my wife, she called me Bird. Hey Bird, whenever she's yelling at me or happy with me, it's always like, hey Bird, we got to do this or that. So I came up with Birdworks. And my daughter's middle name is Birdie.
mm.
So it's, yeah, so it's, that's how I came up with Birdworks. Nothing, that's all I got. I don't know if it's good enough, but yeah, it's just
It
based around my
works.
skinny legs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
at
works.
least,
You said someone called you Jaybird? Was that your mom called you
yeah,
Jaybird?
yeah. But so my mom would call me Jaybird, and of course, my brother would, razz me because there's a photo of me standing next to my brother. My legs look like toothpicks. Like you look like one of those birds standing in the water, like a crane or something. I'm like,
So
God, yeah.
everybody out there that's listening and watching, grab your phone and Google Urban Dictionary Jaybird and read what comes up. Jason, you can do it later when we're done. That is it's going to be interesting once you read what Urban Dictionary says Jaybird is. But
Oh, great. I can't
yeah,
wait. Yeah, thanks a lot.
yeah,
Oh,
no,
that's
no
funny.
problem, man. I'm here for you. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
you're not rolling around Tennessee having people call you Jaybird, man. You may not get any more
No,
business.
no. I kind of hide out in my shop here, and
Nice.
but I'm gonna hold you to when you get out here. I could definitely use some help. That's
No,
for sure. We
I
got
definitely want to come by, man, and check out what you're doing. Just to keep talking about Birdworks for a second.
yeah.
I mean, you've done maybe 6 or 7 different variations of a helmet for me. Every kit I come out with, I want to do a matching helmet, which I have two I need to update right now. It's been hard getting giant helmets. Actually, they're just always out of stock, but I might have to recycle a helmet so I can get
I'm
one wrapped with the new Bahati Foundation Ghana kit, or I call it the Africa Rising kit. Also, we got a new one coming out for our team. My team, Texas Roadhouse. That one's gonna
Oh,
be absolutely killer.
those are
But
printed
like,
today.
I mean, without giving out your business, can you just give us like 1,000 foot view of like how much business you have alone just on the helmet wraps? Because you were doing Peter Sagan's wraps that led to like the entire team for the Tour de France and whatnot. So like bigger scale, like how many helmets are you knocking out a year?
Um, yeah, that
I mean, ballpark.
we
You don't have to give us
Yeah,
exact numbers.
no, it's all right. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, I'm actually in the shop right now looking around, and there's about, I don't know, 300 or so helmets right now, boxes stacked up. Can't even get in the door. So I
Wow.
think, definitely, um, we're in the several hundreds, we're into the thousands of helmets a year,
Wow.
now, where you know, even it's kind of a funny story. I stuttering because it's funny when we did Specialized. I wanted to do Specialized helmets some time ago, and we did. I did the Prevails and was Surf City stuff, but Specialized wasn't really happy saying, "Hey, don't really graphic our helmet." They don't really, brand identity is very, very important that we keep that with people and their companies. So we're not going to put like you know like any type of graphic inside of a logo element. And so it was kind of like, hey, if you mess with our stuff, there can be a little bit of an issue. Don't do that. And then it turned into, it's funny, I look back and now we're doing the tour team. And, and we built a relationship with those companies like
Mm-hmm.
Specialized. And, um, I will say, and I always say that when we were first starting, um, I'm not like a brand. We don't just do one brand. We try to do them all. It would kind of be a little bit of a business suicide if we just stuck with one brand. Rudy, we did a lot of Rudy, and Rudy took a chance on us at the beginning. So I'm really, I got to say that they were very gracious, gave us a lot of leeway, and Chris Lupo, who's over at Rudy, was kind to see us kind of grow it, and then we were able to, and they helped us get into all these other areas. So that's where there's all of a sudden we're doing 300 helmets for Kona, and then another club is we're just doing just 300 helmets for them, or 400. So we do thousands of helmets. I look back at the list, and
Mm-hmm.
even for the feed, we're doing all the feed helmets right now too, and they use every brand, and the list is it's crazy. And it makes me say, if I can too, that I go back to it. I was kind of kidding, but I really was not. Like I have a good vision for it, but our execution is not the best, and it's not because we don't care. It's because I don't know how to say no, and two is I just love when the feeling when people get their helmet and what it can do, and especially teams that are trying to get money for their stuff and not utilizing a helmet. It's like a NASCAR. You've got to be able to utilize a helmet. I'm an athlete. I've been out there trying to find money myself, and trying to the triathlon world, and we just get a lot of people. And there's two people in this whole operation. I do. Matt, who's in California, has been a great help. He's tries to get what he can, and bringing in some stuff, but he's got his own job and his own stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get helmets out as quickly as we can. It's not because we don't care. It's because we are just. It's hard to find help, and there's so much opportunity now that we have hockey and the actual motorsport side. I've I know the NHL and the people and stuff. I have to say no because we're
Mm-hmm.
so maxed out that
Yeah.
if I could find an investor and somebody that's very analytical and come in and say, okay, this is how you do it. You get away from the computer, work on the business, not in it, and then go. And then there's projects. Look how many projects you have. I don't know how you do what you're doing, but
Yeah,
it's
well,
a lot of work.
hopefully this pod here hits the right ear, and what you're envisioning will come to fruition. Because I mean, I like the product, and we're friends and we're being honest, but at times it does get frustrating. You're like, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds so easy from my end. It's like all I want is this, but you just tell me right now you're in your workspace and you're looking at 400 helmets. It's like, all right, well, unless he's just gonna just magically put me in front of the line, it's not that easy because all I wanted was this. So yeah, I've always shown you grace. You've always shown me grace. I don't take it personal. I do poke at you and send you text messages at midnight sometimes, or even at 5 in the morning, depending on when I'm up. But I would say, all in all the people that I've introduced you to, and all the people that I know that have worked with you, and the graphics are amazing. The finished product is amazing, pretty flawed. I haven't got a blemished helmet yet. Hell, I've even done some helmets on my own that I'm pretty proud of, right? And it just
Yeah,
really makes it makes our kits stand out, like you talked about with like NASCAR and whatnot. And it's so funny you talked about Specialized. Now look at where cycling is. Everyone's branding a helmet. Almost
yeah,
no one is just saying, okay, here's a helmet, put it on. They're trying to do some sort of collaborative co-marketing,
yeah,
lockup with, if not two sponsors, three sponsors. You know what I mean? And I think cycling sometimes is its own worst enemy. You look at the situation you talked about with Specialized. They were shooting themselves in the foot for however long that was until they finally saw the vision. And I think it takes people like you and other people to keep pushing the envelope and make people see the vision. I deal with it a lot in the circles that I run in. It's like, we could do so much better, but you have to see the vision. The vision is there. You're not to pat myself on the back, but it's like, in street terms, I'm in the street. I see what's
Yeah.
going on. I see the trends. I see what people are talking about on both ends, the younger crowd and the older crowd, my demographic and the younger demographic. And it's like you can't be late to the parties. You can't continue to walk into the middle of the movie and wonder what's going on. You got to start it. You got to walk in the movie during the opening credits. You know what I mean? So you can understand what's going on. So,
Yeah,
um,
you're correct, and I was thinking too is that we get people, and I love that you poked me by the way. And you're like, oh, no, and I do get that, especially from friends that are, I'm close with, and man, I tell you, it's frustrating for me. I actually, I've gotten irritated when somebody's like, I want my stuff, and I'm just get off the phone, and I'm not, trying to, I'm not getting off and bad mouthing anybody for sure, but I stop and I think, well, they just want what we have. I can't fault them for that. So we got to hire. We got to hire. We've been hiring. We've gone through 6 people in the last, 2 months, and then you got to train them to put the graphics on, and then, that for me, it's a culture thing too for us to be able to all get along. Everybody's talking a lot of crap in here. We're doing this stuff. We're putting stickers on what happens to just be a helmet, and you're trying to do all stuff, so you want to get it going and grow. And yeah, it's frustrating. It really is, because I truly care, and I do think we make a good product. And I know there's another company that's recently have been doing what we're doing, and I've spoke to the owner in the past, and they called and said we just can't keep up. You guys are killing us, and I'm begging them like, don't stop. I'll help you. Don't
mhm.
stop. Do what we're doing. And they just no, we can't do it, and it doesn't help our competition. It doesn't help the sport, and the sport has kind of been going down the other way, and I think what we're doing can help, because a
Yeah.
lot of sponsors are going away, and it's different. Then you have triathlon and cycling. I say cycling, same but totally different. But yeah, no, it's frustrating, and again, I appreciate it. We're just trying to grow it, and the brands are. I mean, the brands have been very supportive, and 99% of everyone, the athletes we work with, even yourself, who's I'm very fond of, and you're a great friend, and you see Sharon, all these guys that I've met from riding and stuff. It's great. I'm very, very lucky that people love what we're building. Just trying to get it better.
Well, I'm still waiting on my six-figure contract with Birdworxs. So when you guys see me with Birdworxs all over my gear, lunch will be on me, definitely. But
Yeah,
I can't wait to come out and see the space, see your workshop,
love
and
it.
actually check out Tennessee. Yeah, we actually took the family there a few years ago. Like I said, my folks are in Birmingham. Went to go see my grandmother, and we drove over to Tennessee and loved it. Bought myself some boots. Bought my daughter some boots. So
Oh yeah,
on the next trip, I'll definitely be buying some boots and hanging out
take
and
you down to Broadway.
yeah, hang out. I mean, it's a good vibe, and I just hope the weather cooperates. But Jason, I tell you, man, I'm glad we got a chance to do this. We've talked about this not for a little time. It's been like
Yeah,
years that we've talked
yeah.
about, sitting down and just talking, if it was recorded or not. So it's been what they say, a plum pleasing pleasure. That's a mouthful. Plum pleasing pleasure
I
to
haven't heard
talk to
that one. I
you
gotta try that.
and yeah, that's old school. That might be before your time. But
Hey, I'm the elder here, my friend. I'm the elder.
you are, and I think it's still before your time.
Yeah.
But
Oh
yeah, man,
yeah.
it's been great because I think it's what this whole podcast is all about, letting people know that it's like I want to humanize everyone. No, people may look at Birdworks and think you're in a 30,000 square foot warehouse doing X, but it's like maybe now that they hear what you're up against, how many employees you have run through over the last 2-3 months, that it's a family ran business, and maybe they will show you a little bit more grace and a little bit more empathy with the leeway and leading up to delivery of some of the things that they have, and that's not to let you off the hook by no means, but
No, no, my
it is a
communication
small
sucks. I'm
business.
trying. I'm working. I'm trying. Yeah, I appreciate
No,
it.
it's all right. I don't think you need to apologize. It is what it is, and I just enjoyed this conversation with you.
Me too.
And just in closing, I do want to ask you a question. that you can leave with our listeners? You've done motorsports, you've done water sports, you've successful businessman. I think you made a very conscious decision to leave Southern California for a different lifestyle in Tennessee. Anything from across those spectrums, any advice you can give to anyone that's listening, whatever you want to say here.
Yeah, I think what you just said is, born and raised in California, just wanting to do something different. I think of calling your own bluff. People always say, "Oh, I couldn't just do that." Well, you 100% can, because if you're not given a choice, you'll make it happen. You'll make it happen. You just have to live life like you have no choice but to make it better. And if that's moving, or if that's getting out and riding your first mile on a bike, or doing something, you just got to call yourself out, because life can't just be one excuse. Because I can tell you, as we all know, it just, time goes by so fast. Throw kids and a wife in the mix, your life changes. But you got to call yourself out. You got to do your first crit race. You can't just wait until you're in the best shape. The only way to get into shape or better your life is just to get in line and go.
Go. I like that. You guys heard it first. Get in line and go. Jason, once again, thanks so much for taking the time and chatting with me on the Fear of the Fro podcast. We are in the Fear of the Fro studios, by the way. I'm gonna do some renovations pretty soon in my little space. But yeah, once again, thanks so much, and thanks everyone for watching and listening wherever you are. And please do me a favor, share this with your friends, your family, your colleagues, even the people you don't like, because they're gonna learn something from it.
Thank you very much, guys.
Until next time.
Thank you.
I'm Rahsaan Bahati with Jason Curtis of Birdworxs. See you later.
Thanks, guys.